What's going on, guys? This is Braden from Advancement Hockey Advising here, and today we're going to be talking about NCAA D3 Hockey and if it's worth it for you. But before we dive in, as always, just a quick reminder to absolutely smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and share the video if you like the content. Also, too, if you have any questions throughout the video or want to talk to us about anything, feel free to drop a comment down below or email us at info@ahadvising.com and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And if you want to skip ahead to any section, there's timestamps throughout the video, so you can go ahead and click on that, or you can just feel free to watch the entire video. It's completely up to you. All right, so today's topic, NCAA D3 Hockey. Why am I making this? Well, NCAA D3 Hockey is a tremendous experience, and it could really, be a great learning opportunity experience for a lot of players out there, myself included. I loved, my years in NCAA D3 Hockey. I thought it was a great experience. But that being said, it's not for everybody. It's not the right fit for every family, and you really got to know, kind of like the ins and outs before you make this decision here. And that's kind of the whole goal of this video, is just to kind of break down, all the different aspects of NCAA D3 Hockey so you can better understand, okay, is this the right path for me? And just a quick disclaimer here too before we get into the different aspects of NCAA D3 Hockey, and that is that this advice is very general. All these guidelines, these things to consider that we're going to give you here, these aspects, they're all going to be on a general level. A lot can vary from program to program, especially if you're talking about really high-end programs like Oswego State University, going down to lower-end programs. There's a huge discrepancy there, so that's one thing to keep in mind, that our advice here is very general. But in general, I think it's going to touch on NCAA D3 as a whole pretty accurately here. All right, so the first aspect that I want to talk about here in terms of NCAA D3 Hockey is actually the hockey side of things. So how strong it is, what does it entail, all that stuff. All right, so first off, it's important to note that most of the players in NCAA D3 Hockey are about 20 to 25 years old. That's because, most of them played junior hockey out of high school for a couple years, and then they're moving on at the collegiate level. So they are a little bit older. And that being said, because they're older, there's a really big focus on physicality and grittiness at the NCAA D3 level. If you don't really like mixing it in the corners and all that stuff, I would say might not be the best path for you, because it's really, really important that you like grinding it out in the corners and making plays from there and winning puck battles and doing battle drills and all that, because they really emphasize that at that level. In terms of overall skill, NCAA D3 I would say is quite skilled. Obviously a first liner in a top program is going to be much more skilled than a third or fourth liner in a more low end program. But that being said, I would say everyone at this level can definitely play hockey and definitely has a decent amount of skill. So the caliber as a whole, I think, is very strong, and it's a good place to develop, because not only is the caliber strong, but also you play about, I would say, 25 games in a given season, and most programs you're playing about 5 or 6 times a week. What I mean by that is you're on the ice, like you're practicing, or you're playing games about 5 or 6 times a week. So it is quite busy, and you also have to do, most programs, I would say at least 2 workouts a week. When you're out of season, obviously a little bit more, but in season, you're about 1 to 2 workouts a week. So, you do have your work cut out for you. It is quite busy. 25 games doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is, because don't forget, you're a full-time student as well. So, you are going to be quite busy, but it's definitely manageable if you manage your time wisely. And I think overall, it's a great experience to develop not only as a hockey player, but as a person in the classroom and beyond. I think it's a really great place to go if you want to develop both as a person and as a hockey player. All right, so moving on here from the hockey side of things, we're going to move on to the next aspect, which is cost. And I think a lot of parents are going to want to hear this, because cost is definitely a big driver as to decisions that we make here. So, and if you want any reminders as to things we've talked about before, you can check out our video NCAA D1 versus NCAA D3. If you click up here, we literally give a big breakdown as to the differences between cost in that video as well. But real quick, NCAA D3, just a reminder, there are no athletic scholarships, right? So that's one big thing. So full ride scholarships do not exist at the NCAA D3 level for hockey. But that being said, there are other types of scholarships, right? You can get academic scholarships if you're a good student. If you only get academic scholarships, generally, very generally, you're looking to pay about 20 to 25,000, all inclusive, that is tuition, housing, food, all this stuff, all inclusive, about 20 to 25,000 USD dollars, right? And that's important for Canadians here. These are United States dollars. So this is really important to consider. Now, moving on from that, if you also get financial aid scholarships, right? If you get academic plus financial aid scholarships, typically you're going to be looking at maybe, $12 to $15,000 USD, very generally speaking. And this varies widely program to program, especially if you're an international student. So these are things that you want to look at too. And again, it's United States dollar. So that's really important. Now, on that note here, because it's United States dollar, for Canadians out there, it's really important to ask yourself, okay, even if I get, down to, let's say, 15,000 USD, that still comes up to about, give or take 20,000 Canadian dollars. That's slightly more expensive than what you're going to pay just being a regular student in Canada. So the question you have to ask yourself is being a student athlete, in a program, in this particular program that I'm applying to here, is it worth it? Does it outweigh, just being a regular student at a Canadian university and paying a little bit less, right? Does that extra cost, is that worth it? And only, you personally can answer that for yourself. I can't answer that for you. Your coach can't. You and your parents have to decide that for yourselves. But that's a really good question to kind of, base your decision off of if a particular NCAA D3 program is worth it for you. So moving on here, the next aspect I have is kind of two bunched together, and that's the campus experience and the overall education. So relatively speaking, most of these institutions are very small. So if you're looking for a big school, we're going to meet a ton of different people, and it's going to be in a big city and get the whole city experience, NCAA D3, in the most part, isn't the right fit for you. There's a few exceptions here, but in general, they're all really, really small. So building off of that, also for education, they're also really, really small class sizes. And that's really important, right? Because small class sizes, I think, is a huge pro because you get a lot more one-on-one time with your professors. So that's definitely a really huge pro that kind of, counterbalances that con of being in a small town, small campus and all that stuff, right? So I would say it depends what you're looking for exactly. If you're someone who's a little bit more independent, you don't need that much time with your profs and you want to live in a big city, NCAA D3 might not be the best fit for you. But on the other hand, it could be the right fit if you're okay with living in a small town and having that one-on-one time with your profs. And for the education, I would say, it varies greatly by program. Of course, the NESCAC schools in that conference are great educational programs. They're extremely competitive to get in, and they're very, very renowned to be great on the education side. But a ton of them that aren't in this NESCAC conference are also quite good. I would say typically about 2/3 of all the NCAA D3 programs all have very good education, and about 1/3 is kind of like so-so to mediocre to not so great, so it's important to kind of do your research on that side too. But overall, I would say the education's quite solid at the NCAA D3 level as well, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. So overall, I would say NCAA D3 on this side of things is worth it if you value, education, and you pick a good program with a major that's in line with what you want to do, right? And if you don't mind being a small campus and getting that one-on-one class size feel. In that case, if all of that fits your criteria, on this case, I would say that NCAA D3 hockey is worth it for you. And now moving on to the last aspect here, which I would say is the aspect that we get the most questions about, and that's advancement to pro hockey. Now, I want to just be upfront and straight up with you guys. Unlike popular belief out there, it is very difficult to advance to the pro hockey level, especially if you go to the higher league. Now, that being said, it is definitely doable to move on to pro hockey from NCAA D3. Our partner here at Advancement Hockey Advising, David DeChevy, currently playing in Europe, and another one of our advisors, Frankie Hart, is also playing in Europe right now and doing advising as well. So it's definitely doable. It's just a little bit harder than a lot of people might think. As to where you're going to advance to and what leagues and how good of a pay you're going to get, that really depends on, your program that you played for and how well you did in that program at the NCAA D3 level. All right, so let's look at some different scenarios here to just kind of give you an idea. So for example, if you played at a really high-end program like Oswego State University or something like that and had a really good career and had really good stats to back it up, chances are you'll end up probably in a really decent, pro league. So for example, around SPHL level. If you're lucky, you could get, you know, a PTO or a professional tryout at the East Coast Hockey League level, but more realistically, probably going to end up around the SPHL level, which is really good to start out your pro career. All right, so kind of moving down from that, if you were in a great program, but you kind of had a so-so career, you know, you didn't really play all that much, but you had a decent stats and all this stuff, or, you know, almost equivalent to this is if you played in a lower or mid-end program and had, you know, a really good career, solid career and solid stats, you know, then you kind of go in another territory here. I would say you have a decent chance at making a league like the SPHL or equivalent leagues to this, you know, on the Europe side of things. But more realistically though, you have a really almost, you know, instant chance or solid chance of making a league like, you know, the Federal Hockey League or maybe lower leagues in Europe. But I would say overall though, the SPHL definitely is still possible from this. Probably you're gonna get something like a professional tryout or something like this if that's the kind of career you had at the NCAA D3 level. And now kind of taking a step down from that, if you were more in like a lower end / mid-end program and, you know, you didn't have that great of a career, you had okay career, you know, and okay stats throughout your whole 4 years, I would say at this point you're more looking realistically at, you know, either signing in the Federal Hockey League probably, or, you know, a really minor pro league in Europe at this point. And just so you guys know, like, it doesn't pay all that much. You're really gonna have to kind of work your way up from those leagues afterwards for several years before you can get, you know, a decent pay. So that's just me being upfront with you guys. But, you know, anything's possible. Obviously, I've seen players that kind of started really low and worked all their way up. It's definitely doable. So, you know, if that's what you want to do, if you think you're kind of a late bloomer and you can work your way up, definitely go for it. You know, don't, you know, let this advice kind of steer you away from doing that. But yeah, overall, that's kind of what it looks at. And obviously this is very general advice. You know, every player's situation is different, but obviously that's, you know, kind of what we're looking at here on the advancement of pro from NCAA D3 side of things. All right, so let's just do a quick recap of everything here. So first and foremost, my main message of the video here is that NCAA D3 hockey, hands down, can be an unbelievable experience for a lot of athletes and prospective student athletes out there. That being said, it's not for everyone, and there are things to consider. And those things are the hockey side of things, right, first and foremost, and then cost. After that are the campus and education overall experience. And then from there, the last thing is advancement to pro hockey. All right, that's it for the video. But before we let you go, just a quick reminder, as always, to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and share the video if you like the content. Also, if you want to reach out to us about absolutely anything, if you had any questions throughout this video, feel free to comment down below or email us at info@ahadvising.com. and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Last quick thing, if you want to check out any of our other platforms, there's a link down in the description below. You can click that. You'll have access to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those kinds of things, you know, so if you're interested, definitely check that out below. And that is it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on that next one.